At a high-stakes meeting in Geneva, top U.S., European, and Ukrainian diplomats are gathering to discuss President Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan. A proposal that Washington claims could end the nearly 4-year war between Russia and Ukraine. But instead of relief, the plan has sparked deep alarm across European capitals. Trump's proposal demands sweeping concessions from Kyiv, including recognizing Crimea, Luhansk and Donetsk as de facto Russian territory, freezing front lines in Kherson and Zaporizhia, and slashing the size of the Ukrainian army from 900,000 to 600,000 troops. For Ukraine's allies, these demands aren't just tough. They're seen as rewarding aggression. Across the EU, leaders warn the plan could leave Ukraine dangerously exposed to another Russian offensive. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says no peace deal can sow the seeds of a future conflict, stressing that borders cannot be changed by force and that Ukraine must keep the right to choose its own security alliances. At the Geneva talks, the U.S. team is led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, while Ukraine has dispatched a heavyweight delegation empowered to negotiate directly with Russia. European powers, Germany, France, the UK, and the broader EU, are also at the table, pushing for a peace framework that doesn't compromise Ukraine's sovereignty. Meanwhile, Russia signals it's ready to accept much of Trump's plan, a sign many analysts see as proof the proposal tilts towards Moscow.
We had a very good day today. I think we made a tremendous amount of progress, even from the last time I spoke to you, and I apologize for keeping you waiting, but there was more work to be done. We began almost 3 weeks ago with a foundational document that we socialized and ran by both sides, and with input from both sides. And one of the things that happens when you've been involved in this now for 10 months is you get a pretty good sense of what the priorities and the red lines and the important issues are for both sides. And so that allowed us to create a foundational document. We arrived here today with one goal, and the goal was to take is 28 points or 26 points, depending on which version as it continued to evolve, and try to narrow the ones that were open items. And we have achieved that today in a very substantial way. Now, obviously, like any final agreement, they'll have to be agreed upon by the presidents, and there are a couple issues that we need to continue to work on. But I think the report today is that I think today was worthwhile. It was very, very. It is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very long time. But work remains, and because this continues to be a working process, I don't want to declare victory or finality here. There's still some work to be done, but we are much further ahead today at this time than we were when we began this morning and where we were a week ago for certain. It evolved. This is a living, breathing document. Every day with input, it changes. There were some that involved equities or the role of the EU or of NATO or so forth, and those we kind of segregated out because we just met with the national security advisors for various European countries, and those are things we'll have to discuss with them because it involves them. So we sort of really focused on the ones that were bilateral in nature for the most part. So there were a couple, none of it insurmountable. I can tell you that the items that remain open are not insurmountable. We just need more time than what we have today. I honestly believe we'll get there.
On the ground, Russian forces continue to push forward in key regions that the draft plan would hand over to Moscow. And in Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky warns the proposal would leave Ukraine without freedom, dignity, and justice. For Zelensky, the dilemma is stark: accept a deal seen as capitulating to Moscow, or risk damaging relations with Ukraine's most crucial partner, the United States. Trump insists his plan is a realistic path to peace. European leaders say it needs additional work. And Kyiv believes the stakes could not be higher. As the talks unfold in Geneva, one question looms large. Can the US and Europe find common ground? Or will competing visions for peace deepen divisions within the Western alliance?